Melania Trump, the current First Lady of the United States and wife of President Donald Trump, had always been a figure of elegance, strength, and mystique. Known for her calm demeanor and refined style, Melania had long been a subject of both admiration and criticism, depending on the lens through which she was viewed. Despite the intense media scrutiny she faced, Melania remained largely unaffected by the public's opinion. But when it came to defending her choices, whether related to fashion or her role as First Lady, she had always made it clear that she would not be silenced. On a recent live political talk show, Michael Bennet, a well-known liberal TV host, decided to target Melania for her luxurious necklace that she wore during an event. During a broadcast, he mocked the diamond-studded piece of jewelry, calling it a symbol of extravagance that was far out of touch with the struggles facing everyday Americans. He even went as far as to question why a woman in her position would choose such an item, suggesting that it reflected a lack of empathy for the financial hardships many families were facing. His words were sharp and clearly intended to provoke, but what Bennet hadn't expected was that Melania Trump, ever composed and strong, would turn the tables on him in a way no one could have predicted. A few days later, Melania was asked to appear on a televised interview to discuss her philanthropic work, her role as First Lady, and her initiatives for children's education. The moment everyone had been waiting for finally arrived, and the host, aware of the recent controversy over Melania's necklace, cautiously broached the topic. "Mrs. Trump, recently, there was a lot of chatter about your choice of jewelry at a public event. Some have criticized it as being out of touch with the struggles of the American people. What do you think of those remarks?" The moment hung in the air as Melania maintained her poise. There was no anger in her eyes, no sign of defensiveness, just calm assurance. She took a moment before responding, knowing her words would be both a reflection of her character and a powerful statement. "It's fascinating to me," Melania began, her voice soft yet steady. "The things people choose to focus on. The necklace you speak of was a personal choice, like any other piece of clothing or accessory. I wear what I feel expresses my style, my personality, and my confidence. But more importantly, it has nothing to do with the work I do to support this country, especially in terms of helping children and families." She paused, then continued. "People are quick to judge what they don't understand. But my focus has always been on bringing real change. And I will not be distracted by those who would prefer to focus on trivial matters instead of what truly matters: our children, education, and making sure every American has a brighter future." The interviewer and the audience in the studio were stunned by her response. Melania didn't flinch, didn't show any sign of weakness. Instead, she gracefully, yet firmly, turned the narrative away from the superficial and back to the important issues she cared about. The clip of her comeback went viral, circulating across social media platforms and sparking conversations everywhere. For the first time in a long while, Melania Trump wasn't just defending her choices, she was commanding respect. Across the nation, people began to comment on her remarks. Supporters praised Melania for her grace and composure, noting how she had taken the high road in the face of mockery. Critics of Bennett's show began to question his priorities, pointing out that instead of attacking someone for a piece of jewelry, he could have used his platform to discuss real issues that affected Americans. Even those who had once been critical of Melania found themselves respecting her quiet strength. Many took to social media to express their admiration, noting that she had always been misunderstood and that her calm, measured responses were far more powerful than any heated argument. Some commentators observed that her comeback wasn't just about defending herself, it was about reminding people of her true role, not as a figure of material excess, but as a woman of substance, committed to causes that truly matter. Melania's decision to address the comments about her necklace became more than just a defense of her fashion choices. It became a moment where she reclaimed her narrative, reminding the world that who she was and what she stood for was about much more than outward appearances. Her comeback wasn't just about fashion, it was about her values, her commitment to children, and her desire to make a difference without being distracted by the noise of triviality. She had once again proven that strength doesn't need to come from loud responses or gestures. Sometimes, the most powerful responses come from a place of quiet confidence, from standing firm in your beliefs, and from knowing that you don't need to justify yourself to anyone. As she moved forward with her work, Melania knew that her necklace wasn't what defined her. It was her actions, her vision, and her dedication to helping others that truly mattered. The news of Melania Trump's comeback spread like wildfire across the media, sparking debates that reached far beyond the realm of fashion. The interview clip showing her composed and powerful response quickly went viral. Social media buzzed with praise from her supporters and discontent from her critics. But the most notable fallout came from the liberal TV host, Michael Bennet, whose mocking comments had originally sparked the controversy. Bennett's show, known for its sharp political commentary, had seen its ratings spike in the days following his segment on Melania's necklace. Yet, the backlash he faced was undeniable. His audience had initially laughed at his remarks, but as Melania's words sank in, the tone shifted. Many viewers, including some from his own following, began questioning the importance of his attack on her jewelry. On the day after the broadcast, Michael Bennet found himself at the center of a firestorm. People who had once supported his political stances began to speak out, calling his mockery of Melania Trump unnecessary and shallow. A growing number of critics expressed how his focus on materialism distracted from more pressing societal issues. His audience was split. Some stood by him, others felt disappointed by the direction his show had taken. The media landscape quickly turned into a battleground. In the days that followed, numerous TV personalities and journalists weighed in on the controversy. Many political pundits took to social media, stating that Bennett's remarks were not only unprofessional but irrelevant in a world struggling with complex issues like healthcare, education, and economic disparity. News anchors and commentators began to draw attention to Melania's response, noting that her words shifted the focus away from her personal life and highlighted the disrespectful nature of the critique. They commended her for taking the high road and remaining poised, in contrast to the low-level attack Bennet had attempted. Meanwhile, Melania's supporters celebrated her comeback as a powerful demonstration of resilience. Many expressed admiration for how she had turned what could have been a humiliating moment into a testament to her strength and character. Her poise under fire had, in many ways, humanized her in the eyes of the public. She wasn't just the first lady of a polarized political climate, but a woman standing firm against the unfair judgment placed upon her. In the days after the media storm, Melania Trump's presence began to take on a new dimension. Beyond her role as First Lady, she had inadvertently positioned herself as a voice of reason and grace, showing the world that personal attacks would not define her actions. What had begun as a trivial mockery had now become an opportunity for Melania to assert her individuality and set the tone for future conversations on public discourse. The public reaction was eye-opening, and soon enough, even political analysts weighed in, noting that this moment could influence Melania's future path. Many suggested that her handling of this moment showed she had the potential to wield significant influence in both political and cultural arenas. The next time she took the stage, it wouldn't just be for her husband's agenda, it would be as a leader in her own right, able to turn a situation of ridicule into an opportunity to make lasting impact. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, Melania's advocacy work continued with unwavering dedication. Her efforts to raise awareness for children's health, education, and mental well-being only grew more pronounced after her interaction with Bennet. She understood that the media cycle would soon move on to the next story, but the changes she had set in motion would continue to reverberate in communities across the country. As Melania's remarks continued to dominate media conversations, the American public began to reflect on something deeper than just her jewelry. The mockery of her necklace had opened the door for a larger discussion on how the media treats women, especially those in positions of power or influence. Many people, regardless of political affiliation, started to speak up against the notion that a woman's worth should be based on her appearance or material possessions. They began questioning whether we were truly focusing on what really mattered: policy, action, and the values that a public figure stood for. Melania's response acted as a symbol of the larger battle against superficiality, particularly when it came to women who were in the public eye. It wasn't just about the necklace, it was about respecting people for who they are, not what they wear or what they own. Melania Trump had become more than just a first lady. She had become an advocate for self-empowerment and dignity in the face of unwarranted public scrutiny. As the dust settled from the controversy, it became clear that Melania's comeback had far-reaching effects. Her ability to maintain grace under pressure had not only defended her character, but had also redefined the narrative surrounding her. The media, which often pounced on her with headlines focused on her wardrobe and appearance, had been forced to confront the reality of who she truly was, a woman who wouldn't be easily defined by the opinions of others. Her legacy, it seemed, was no longer tied to just her position as First Lady. Instead, it was about her influence in reshaping the conversation on public image, dignity, and strength. Melania Trump's response had made a powerful statement, not just for her, but for anyone who had ever been judged unfairly or diminished based on shallow assumptions. In the aftermath of Melania Trump's powerful comeback, the narrative surrounding her began to shift in a way that few had anticipated. What started as a minor critique of her jewelry had blossomed into something much larger, a cultural conversation about how we view women in positions of power and how public figures are treated by the media. For Melania, this wasn't just about defending herself against an attack. It was about reclaiming the space in which her voice could be heard, not just as the wife of the president, but as a woman of substance, capable of standing up to mockery with dignity and wisdom. As the media frenzy continued, Melania's presence in the public discourse became more than just an event to watch, it became a catalyst for change. Commentators and political analysts began discussing her actions in the context of a larger issue: the objectification and gendered criticism of women in public life. Melania's elegant, composed response was, in essence, a rejection of shallow narratives that tried to define her based on appearances rather than actions or values. Behind closed doors, Melania took a moment to reflect on what had transpired. She wasn't one to boast or dwell on public victories. Her focus had always been on the work, the causes she championed, the family she helped, and the future she envisioned for the next generation. But she had learned something valuable in that moment of public scrutiny. She had learned that it wasn't just about standing by silently while the world judged. Sometimes, you had to stand firm, take the microphone, and correct the narrative. In doing so, she had found her own voice, unapologetically strong, measured, and confident. Melania wasn't interested in being defined by her wardrobe, by her marriage, or by the superficial aspects of her life. She was a woman who had long believed in the importance of individuality and authenticity, and in the aftermath of this media storm, she felt empowered to continue pursuing those values, regardless of the opinions of others. In the weeks that followed, the story of Melania's comeback began to resonate beyond just her supporters. It struck a chord with women across the country, from those in boardrooms to stay-at-home moms, from entrepreneurs to educators. People who had once felt sidelined by the narratives placed upon them found Melania's words deeply relatable. Her story wasn't about luxury or wealth, it was about resilience and standing up for oneself in the face of unfair criticism. The media took note, and slowly, the conversation around Melania began to change. Where there was once a focus on her outward appearance, the conversation started to shift toward her impact, her efforts to raise awareness for important causes, and her determination to make a difference. The public scrutiny Melania had faced over the years was not a new experience for her. But this time, it had transformed into a powerful opportunity for her to be seen as more than just a public figure. She was someone who had always been deeply involved in charitable causes, advocating for children's health, education, and mental well-being. Now, with the support of her advocates, she planned to double down on her initiatives, using her newfound platform to push forward on the causes that were most important to her. Education for children, mental health awareness, and support for families in need became the driving focus of her work. As the First Lady and as an individual, she believed her platform had the power to affect real change, one where superficial judgments about material possessions had no place. The days and weeks following the incident saw Melania standing more firmly in the public eye, not as a figurehead in a glamorous role, but as someone who could stand her ground and advocate for the vulnerable. Her legacy would no longer be tied to the mockery of a necklace, but to the lasting impact of the work she would continue to do. She wasn't just the wife of the president, she was Melania Trump, a woman with a voice, an advocate, and an example of strength in the face of judgment. Her comeback had not only changed the conversation about her, it had changed the way the world viewed women in the public eye. She wasn't here to be scrutinized for her choices, she was here to make an impact.